Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Admiral Jedi and I do historical playthroughs of Paradox Interactive Grand Strategy games. This is the very beginning of my first mega series where I will play through as the historical ancestors of the modern day nation of Turkey. I am super excited to play 4 different Paradox games as part of my mega series, starting with this one, Crusader Kings 3, playing all games not only end to end, but playing as historically accurately as possible. So, for those of you that are watching my videos for the first time, let's go ahead and get some explanations and disclaimers out of the way first. If you've seen any of my previous videos and you want to skip this section, go ahead and skip straight to goals and objectives. So, what is a historical playthrough anyway? Well, I will be playing in sequence, like I said before, the games Crusader Kings 3, Europa Universalis 4, Victoria 3, and Hearts of Iron 4 as Turkey, or as their ancestors, and my play will not be geared towards world domination or alt history, but rather to play as closely to what happened as, historically speaking, as possible. Now, in Crusader Kings, we have the brand new Legacy of Persia DLC, which I'm excited to dive into. It's a little bit silly because I'm not going to play as any of these people, but rather we're going to make this first run starting in 867 AD as a sort of origin story of the Seljuk Empire, which will ultimately be in this place, in this geographic area where modern-day Turkey is. Now, we're going to migrate, pun not intended, from the Seljuk Empire to the Ottoman Empire and play the latter half of Crusader Kings and all of Europa Universalis and Victoria 3 and Hearts of Iron 4. Well, not Hearts of Iron 4. We're going to play Victoria and EU 4 as the Ottomans, and then play Hearts of Iron 4 as Turkey. But again, what is a historical playthrough? So I will try to play as closely to what really happened in history as possible, trying to stay true to things like timelines, events, geopolitical borders, cultural, military, economic, and religious precedents. But first, a couple of disclaimers. The first, this is not a tutorial on how to play this game, or any of these games. I will highlight various game mechanics that I use, but only will do so as a context for how those mechanics get me closer to what happened in history. There are plenty of great tutorials out there for all these games, so if you're looking to learn how to play the game, be sure to check those out somewhere else on YouTube, because this is not the place for tutorials. Number 2, I am an American and not a history teacher or a scholar in any way, beyond just my own research and reading. I'm nearly guaranteed to get some things wrong, mispronounce a lot of names and places, and may accidentally not be as sensitive as I should to some cultural issues that I'm just simply not aware of. I apologize in advance for all these things, and I welcome your feedback in the comments section. Number 3, history is filled with all kinds of nasty stuff like war, death, slavery, as well as marginalization of women and ethnicities. Because I'm trying to play as close to what really happened as possible, I may make some decisions that would be considered immoral today. I do not endorse or extol these choices, but we'll still make them so that we can always be reminded of what truly happened and indeed where we came from as a society. So with all those out of the way, let's dig into Crusader Kings 3 and get started. So the first 2 questions are really when to start and where to start. Crusader Kings 3 is one of the games that offers you basically a custom choice of when and where. Because I want to do a really like an origin story of the Seljuk Empire, which did expand to occupy the Anatolian area, where modern-day Turkey is. We're going to play as them. We're going to start early on, and but the real choice is, who do I start with? Now, you already saw me bypass one of the previous starts in the Iranian Intermezzo, which is the main feature of the Legacy of Persia DLC. And that's because all those rulers are going to be down here in the south and the southern Persian area. Whereas the Seljuks really were Turks. And they were Turks who lived in the Central Europe, this steppe area here, and ultimately migrated down south, if you can kind of follow my cursor, into the Iranian area and took over huge swaths, creating a huge empire of this area. But they were Oghuz Turks. Now we have this, and again, I may have mispronounced that. We have this area here, Oghuz Il, ruled over currently in 867 by a single Khan. I didn't want to start as a kingdom level player, but Crusader Kings 3 is an amazing game, which I've been playing for months and months and months and months at this point. But it does provide you with a little bit of a limitation, and that is you will lose this game if your dynasty does not have any land. But that implies you must have two things. You must have a dynasty and you must have land. So the Seljuks began as Oghuz Turks and ultimately moved to this area of Jand, or Jand, I don't know how it's pronounced properly, converted to Islam, and then began a southward migration and conquer. So that would mean I really need to start as an Oghuz. Okay, so we've got this guy, Khan Kurush, who's Oghuz. Also, I could start here, also Oghuz, as this chieftain. I would prefer to start smaller. However, we need to migrate to Jand, and also the ancestors of the Seljuks were reportedly in leagues with the Khazar Empire. So I'm thinking that I'm going to choose Khan Kurush, try and form some alliance with the Khazar dynasty here, and go from there. So I'm going to lock this choice in, but I'm going to make one rule change, which may have been made already, but I'm going to highlight that right now, and I'm glad that Paradox gave us this choice. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, yeah, see, I can currently get achievements, except I'm not going to be able to get achievements once I make this rule change. And that is, we're going to turn the Seljuk invasion off, because I am the Seljuk invasion. I did and want to thank some of the Paradox devs for engaging with me a little bit on the forums, and they brought up a good point when I basically poked around seeing how can I do a Seljuk story. And they said, well, it might get a little awkward when the Seljuk invasion actually happens. Which one of you is the real Seljuks? Anyway, it's going to be me, so I'm going to shut this off and simulate the Seljuk Empire by playing as Khan Kurush of the Oghuz Il. In we go. Now, why Turkey? Turkey has a rich history that encompasses some of the largest and most powerful empires in history, like the Seljuk and Ottoman empires. Also, we've got fun and significant content, not only in this game, but also EU4 had some great content for the Ottoman Empire, which I'm looking to get into. So, like we said, we're going to start off as the Oghuz Turks, which were a nomadic steppe-based culture that predated the Seljuks. And the Seljuk Empire was in fact named after one of their ancestors, Seljuk, who hasn't been born yet, but we're going to work on getting him born. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm just an average guy with a love for history, and certainly not an expert in all of this, but I do want to go through some of my sources as well before we get into the goals. Going beyond my previous videos that were powered almost exclusively by Google and Wikipedia, I have done some deliberate background research by reading all the way through ACS Peacock's The Great Seljuk Empire, which I'm going to include for you here as a link. There was a lot of great info in that book that I'll be referring back to throughout the rest of the series. And then also, I'm going to start a new sort of custom as I do these, where to get myself in the mood, and maybe you, who knows, I try to also at the same time watch various TV shows and read historical fiction novels, even play other video games that are set all in the same period of time and place. So, nerd alert. So keep an eye out for some of those recommendations as I keep going. Alright, let's talk about our goals for this video. I've done a couple of experimental playthroughs that didn't go too terribly well. And one of the difficulties that we're going to have in keeping with history, which I really, really would like to do as much as possible, is keeping with the timeline. Seljuk, the titular, I don't even know how to pronounce that word. The person who the Seljuk Empire was named after originally lived in this Khazaria area and migrated here to Jind in 985. That's 120 years from now. Okay, so we could do that, and I did in one of my playthroughs, just kind of sit around for 120 years and do nothing but be Ogazil. And aside from being hellaciously boring, it then sets up another really difficult piece, which is the Seljuk Empire was formed in the year 1037. So that is, 52 years? So in 52 years, after wasting 120 years, I would have 52 years to form an empire that spans this entire area. I'm just not that good. I've seen some people that are like, well, I did the Iberian conquest in like a day or something. I don't even know how they're pulling it off. I'm sure they are, but whatever. So to be a bit more relaxed, and I hate to say it, we're going to really throw out the timeline. And I've begun throwing out the timeline by basically invading Jind right now. Because here they're sitting right next to me as a little chieftain that's like, please conquer us. And so we're going to do that. What I will do is convert to Islam in 985, which is what Seljuk did. So we're going to break this first playthrough into a few videos. And what we're going to end this first video with is in the year 985. So yes, I'm going to play for 120 years in this first video. And we need to have Seljuk be alive. So I'm going to have to name one of my kids that, or kids that, or something. And by the year 985, we're going to convert to Islam. There's a lot more we're going to do in terms of conquering and who we're going to conquer and when we're going to conquer and all that sort of thing. But for now, we're going to take Jind and begin a southward expansion. The actual history of the Seljuks, and again, we're kind of doing like a Seljuk origin story, really. The actual history of the Seljuks saw them being involved in the Khazarian Khanate here as like warlords and that sort of thing. And it is reputed that they broke with the Khazar due to a conflict that Seljuk himself supported. This is just one of the reasons, alleged reasons. The history in this period is really bad. Or not bad so much as very poorly documented. So I do want to give a huge shout out to ACS Peacock, whose book The Great Seljuk Empire I've been reading. A little link here for you as part of my research. In addition to Googling and Wikipedia, I've been reading that book. So according to this book and some other research, that Seljuk, the warlord, supported a Rus attack on Khazar, specifically in Itil, which led Seljuk to fall out, understandably, with the Khan, and migrate eastward towards Samarkand. And I believe we can find that it exists. Okay, so let's zoom in here. There's Samarkand. So here, began to migrate eastward, right, out and into this area of the Samanids. Then, and this is what's really tough about Crusader Kings, really, is that there's really only one form of power, hard power. and it's conquer, conquer, conquer. Don't get me wrong, I love to conquer, okay? But that a people could exist within this nation and be gaining strength and influence, but not conquering it, is not something we can really do in Crusader Kings 3. So I can only show myself present by conquering them. So historically speaking, they moved, and then they supported the Samanid prince in conquest against the Karakanid princes, and then that was that switched a couple times, and then they were pushed back into what will be called Transoxiana. I don't believe it's called that right now. It's called Samanid. It will be called Transoxiana later, which is this area here. And then they'll, be invited. A lot of people try to use the Seljuks as like their muscle. So it's like, we're gonna get on these guys' side, good side. Let's use them to prop us up militarily speaking. And all that they really, quote unquote, all they really ask for is some land and some pasture where they can feed their nomadic flocks. And the next thing you know, they're everywhere. So to simulate that in our playthrough, it's really going to come down to, unfortunately, what are we going to conquer? And so to form the empire, I'm really struggling of whether I want to occupy this entire Sirdaria area. We're definitely going to occupy this entire area that's known as Samanid now. It'll be known as Transoxiana later on. And Tahirid, which will be known as Khorasan later on. And then there's a lot of expansion. So I think we're going to be focusing on these 3 areas for a while. I may just ignore this one. And then the problem with these areas is, you look at this and it's like, well, it looks all huge here. Ooh, it's big, right? No, not really. It's a gigantic, unpassable desert. So, pretty much all of Samanid really is, right, like this area here. Okay. And then this other area here. And this is, whoop, that's just skipped. So we're going to focus probably just quite a bit on these 2. And specifically the Samanid Grand Emirate. And whoever's here. I guess that's all part of this. So, and the African. Okay, so that's going to be our first conquests, and we're going to play some other parts of it, talk about some other parts of the culture and the history, but that's what we're going to be focused on for this first phase, all by 985. One of the things that we'll talk about first, from a cultural perspective, is the legacy, the dynasty. Okay. And our legacies. Now, I already chose one, Blood. And this is really just to set us up. There's going to be some that I choose, kind of just logistically, but others that I choose to match history. So I am looking to have 1 or 2 good blood traits so we can have a good dynasty started. Obviously, we're going to be warriors as well. So they were horse lords. We saw that in our culture. Okay, accurate. The Oga's culture. And I didn't form this. I'm just taking what swords for hire, right? So, this is I think Paradox did a great job in creating these cultures. And so I've already made the choice to have our first blood, and so I'm going to alternate back and forth a couple times, probably 2 and 2, warfare, blood, and then we're going to pick a few others later for historical and cultural reasons, which we'll go through when that time comes up. We're also going to talk about military a bit. The Turks, and ultimately the Seljuk Turks, as we saw already culturally, were a horse-oriented people. So I'm going to end up ditching these bowmen for horse archers. Instead, we're going to really focus and double down on horse archers. And also, the Seljuks were said to be nimble and able to fade and to hit and run. So we're going to focus on a very light and ranged and horse-oriented set of men-at-arms. So we're going to go with horse archers, light footmen. I'm not even going to bother with light horsemen because I think that all their horse archers would have been, I don't know, maybe I'll have one unit of them. With 5, what I'm probably going to do is do 2 archers, 2 footmen. I don't have the money to do any of this stuff right now, so 2 archers, 2 footmen, 1 light horseman. Or actually, you know what, maybe what I'll do is 1 light footman and 1 onager. Because we're going to need those eventually. So the whole point, though, being that from a military perspective, we're going to be light, we're going to be horse, we're going to be archery. In the year 873 AD, we've had a little bit of expansion into the Sirdaria area. But for now, just something a little bit mundane. We've got enough money to go on a hunt. And I'm just highlighting this because the concepts behind hunting as a noble activity and feasting and tournaments and all that sort of thing were legitimate. There were competitions over horse riding and archery. And so for now, we're just going to go hunt. It's something definitely that they did, and we can go ahead and blow off some steam and have it hopefully go well for us. But I do appreciate that Paradox added these various activities. I really do think that tours and tournaments was one of the greatest additions that they could add. So let's go for a hunt. In the year 886 AD, we're on our second ruler. And things are going okay. A little bit of expansion, not a whole lot. Pushing down into the south. Obviously, we want to come down here and take these areas whenever we can. This kingdom is now known as Transoxiana, like it should be. As opposed to what it was before. I'm not even remembering, like Afrigid or something like that. Anyway. So, got a little bit of land over here. Not terribly historically accurate, but it lets me kind of expand a little bit more and do some experimentation. So one of the things with Legacy of Persia, the biggest piece of it is the Iranian Intermezzo, which is the specialized struggle, similar to the Iberian struggle for Iberia, which is in this area. Now, I'm completely uninvolved, not even an interloper. I am uninvolved, and they mock me with it all the time. Uninvolved. Anyway, the Khalif is pretty strong. The Smelly, that's a terrible nickname. You gotta be upset with that one. And so I really want to see him broken up. Now, I've done a couple of experimental playthroughs already, and I don't even remember being able to see the intermezzo mechanics. And I think that's because my first playthroughs, I basically didn't do anything until 985. I just grew my kingdom, migrated to Jinn, and then converted to Islam, which is historical. And from a pure history standpoint, I probably should have done that. But I've already shared about how I can't really do that because to form an empire in like 20 years is impossible. So I'm doing the whole thing sort of slowly and gradually. And as I'm proceeding southward, much ahead of schedule, I'm discovering the intermezzo mechanics. So one of the things I think I'm going to do, rather than become involved, is just find these people who are detractors of the caliphate and kind of support them. Although I've been punking on this guy for a while now. It almost makes me wonder if he's switched. So let's see if we can go find somebody who's not a detractor of the caliphate. I'm sure the caliphate itself is not. Or maybe everybody is. So as we can see from the intermezzo struggle, where's it at? Okay. It's way on its way to unrest. And I guess this concession ending just happens like if nothing else happens. So a good outcome from me here, I think, is going to be the Abbasid humiliation, not the renewed caliphate. I really don't need this guy to stay strong forever. So I'm going to just try and do some raids and all that sort of thing, as I've been doing, actually. I thought this guy was a supporter, and so I felt really good about raiding him, but now he's a detractor. So anyway, we're going to need to figure out a different approach here, because what I don't want to do is knock down all the detractors and have the caliphate completely survive. That would be stupid. So we're going to be doing that. I don't really believe that Seljuk or his ancestors were involved in any way in these Iranian politics at this time, and he didn't even exist until like the 960s. But I'm just sort of plowing the road to make sure that it's going to be something I can conquer later on. Okay, I haven't really played around with this mechanic at all, so I didn't really know this, but on the view struggle involvement, we can find all the people who are supporters. So that's good. We'll go pick on them. The Turkish ancestors of the Seljuks were nomadic, a steppe-based people, steppe up here in the Central European steppe, and they valued horses and also military strength, obviously. And one of the things we're going to do right now, a little bit of a mundane, not necessarily historical event, is we're going to throw a tournament, because I love them and need them for, prestige and all that sort of thing. But it gives me the chance to highlight a couple of the key cultural activities that these people found important to them. So less jousting was really just not a thing. When we, playing Crusader Kings, think of tournaments, we think of jousting and fair maidens and favors and all that sort of thing. And so I'm going to not really favor melee or joust, but we're going to favor quite a bit horse racing and archery. And so this time around, we're going to do archery. In fact, when the Seljuks came to power, they had coins minted with bows and arrows on them. So the symbol of the bow and arrow was of utmost importance to the Seljuks. So you know what? We're going to honor that and hold an archery tournament. And you know what? Let's try and win it. So I've got money, right? Okay, but yeah, we'll make it more easy to win. Let's see here. There we go. And do I have a champion? I think I do. There we go. Let's hope that he's good at archery. Dang it. He better be, you Seljuk ancestor, you. So, do we need desert war? Yeah, we sure do. Okay. So, that's it. Let's get started. Second death, Khan Shabazz in 904 AD. Unfortunately, Confederate partition is gonna straight murk me, which sucks. Oh good, I've got 4 holdings. Okay, alright, so that's not as bad as I was fearing. And we haven't done any other kingdoms or anything like that. So, let's take a look around and see what we're at land-wise at this point. Okay. So here is where we are right now, and here, let's Get that. There we go. That should work out. So here's where we are right now. And here's where we began with Khan Shabazz. So you can see that we've pushed quite a bit into this Afrigid area, which is the Kingdom of Transoxiana. So that's what we're going to continue to have as our goal. Probably only for this video are we going to work on this goal of the Second Kingdom of Transoxiana and conversion to Islam by 985. So again, here's where we were. Here's where we are with Khan Kutay. So we're going to keep pushing on Transoxiana. I have gone back and forth whether I want to try to take Sir Daria. I think I'm going to. And then we're up here and a little bit to the northwest, which I really don't care about. But we may extend out there a little bit just so that the Kingdom of Kimek can be something that can break off for one of the other sons to, lessen the blow of Confederate partition. Speaking of which, I just want to give a huge shout out to One Proud Bavarian, whose video on the details of Confederate partition has just been insanely helpful. So link here, and everybody head on over to that if you're wondering about Confederate partition and how to handle that and how to understand it. That's definitely a great help, so thanks for that. Let's do a little more surveying. The year is 924 AD. And so here's me, Ogozil, doing all right. Doing pretty good, I think. Getting pretty bigger. So I think we're on, what are we on? Con number 3? Yeah. And we've got secure succession at this point. I've got a good looking heir. Only 2 heirs, so in terms of what we're going to lose on succession, not too bad. But what's happened is, through an interesting marriage, so this is my wife, and she ended up inheriting basically the High Chieftain of Kurgan, I think, while I was, married to her. Well, actually, I don't think that's true. I think she inherited it, then her husband died, then I swooped in on that, married her, and so became Khan, and our primary heir stands to inherit a lot. So that's good. The only thing is, it's not terribly historic, because all these lands in the north, really I want kind of nothing to do with them. They were not Seljuk lands. Seljuk, like I said towards the beginning of the video, was really in Khazaria and migrated east in this direction. Let's kind of clean that back up again. Down towards the Samarkand area and ultimately settled in Jind. Do we have it? Where's Jind? Where are you? Gotta zoom in there. There we go. Okay. And then, I've said this quite a bit, I think, south to Trans... So anyway, I am kind of happy about this because if my heir, if and when, I mean, it's pretty much a guarantee as long as the guy doesn't die. Well, and then I've got a second heir, all right? So whoever my heirs are, they're going to inherit this large Kurgan area as well. And that's good because it's practically on the verge of forming a new kingdom. So let's see this here. We've got a lot of this Cumania. And so when I do Confederate partition, I can split off a whole kingdom and keep all my stuff in the central/south. So that, maybe I said that before, but in addition to that, I just wanted to sort of go over our strategy because we're nearing the end of the video here. That the strategy is really to completely flesh out Transoxiana. So the problem that I'm having in doing that now is we've got, I'm just going to kind of go back and forth on this where you can kind of see that a little bit. Okay. Is that I have this Turhan area, which, I just always see how it is, how big they are by declare. Okay, I could do that easy. Do we? Yeah, we don't have enough to invade the kingdom. But these two are allied with the Khalif. So, declaring war on them is going to be extremely unpleasant, as you can see there with the 17,000 troops. In addition, even though in this video we're not going to push into, this will be called Khorasan once the Tahirid Emirate is done away with. That this Safarid sort of empire, Emirate, is huge, as well as the Khalif, the Abbasid. Okay, I've been waiting for this to get broken up, and it hasn't happened. So I'm wondering if the Intermezzo is going well for them, so to speak. Where's it at? Here we go. We're going to stabilize. I mean, stabilization looks like it's coming up sooner than later, sooner than anything else. I don't see anybody triggering one of the other endings. Let's see. Well, I guess that comes perhaps from stabilization. So we're going to see how that goes, because if the struggle ending is Abbasid humiliation, that would be good. Let's see here. Is that true? Well, maybe. Again, I don't know what happens in these, but you know what? Maybe towards the end of the video, it'll just happen. So let's see how close we are to it. 431, 500. I'm pretty sure that the Intermezzo just comes to an end, period, when this threshold is reached. So we'll see how that goes. Hey, welcome back. It's 947 AD now. Been struggling a bit. We inherited a huge amount of land up north, thanks to my, at this point, super aggressive mother, who I was going to inherit all this land from, and ultimately did. She was constantly calling me to battle. Hey, let's go kill these people. Okay, hey, let's go kill these people. And so okay, whatever. So that's fine. I've talked about that already. What I'm really frustrated with is my 35-year-old son and his 32-year-old wife have no kids. 0. Like, none of them are, like, celibate or anything like that. I guess they're both really humble. It's funny, I ended up gifting him an artifact that increased fertility by 10%, hoping that helps. I don't think he doesn't have any lovers or anything. He's not gay. She's not gay. I don't think. Nope. So, do it. You know, make it happen here. I'm hoping I just die so I can take over as him and get a bunch of concubines. He doesn't. I don't think he has any concubines. So that's just really frustrating. On the brighter side of things, we can definitely form the Kingdom of Transoxiana now, which we're going to do. Where's it at? Oh, I could just do it through the kingdom itself. So here we go. Yay. So I'm now, let's see what we have here. We have kingdom titles of Ogaz-Il, Kimek, and Transoxiana. Kimek I'm going to give up, because it's up north. But Transoxiana, I'm happy to have. That's bringing us close to the end of this video. So there's really only 2 more things that need to happen at the end of this video, or by the end of this video. And that is, Seljuk needs to exist, so there needs to be some serious procreation going on here. And also, we're going to, well, Seljuk needs to convert to Islam. Historically speaking, that happened in 985. But seeing as how there's not even a kid born yet, we could be cutting that one kind of close. So we're just going to kind of maintain the realms at this point, and I'm trying to kill this guy here. And I think I've got, it's totally unrelated. I think I've got a scheme going already. It's looking pretty good, 91, 95. He's just my rival. I'm trying to kill him before he kills me. Starts murdering all my family. But anyway, we gotta get the kid, and then once the kid, Seljuk, is alive and a ruler in power, then, you know what, maybe not in power, but at least just an adult, then we're going to convert to Islam and call it, and this will be the end of video 1. So let's hope that it happens soon. At long last, it has finally happened, and it wasn't from my son, but rather I had to have a second son. Let's name him Seljuk. May you grow to be strong and wise and not die of cancer or be murdered by somebody. Please. Especially because I am still to the point where my son has not had any children. He's 41. I've already had him divorced. His new wife... Oh, she's finally pregnant. What do you know? What do you know? Amazing. Okay, I'm sure that they'll have 9 girls. But anyway, I've been really just like freaking out because while I have a fair amount of lines of succession, it's all like, oh, this guy who's going to be somebody else's liege, and this guy who's somebody else's liege, and it's like, yeah. So, alright, we got 2 sons, and this one finally, okay, I'm feeling better. So, we're right near the end. We're just going to wait for Seljuk to grow up, which, that's about 985. That's not too far. Well, I mean, he's going to grow up sooner than that. So what is he, 0 now, right? Grows to be 16, so that would be, what, 978? Who knows? Maybe we'll let him go another 7 years before switching to Islam, just for super duper historical accuracy, and then we're going to call it. So, we've done a fair amount of expansion. I think we showed this last time. Transoxiana is pretty much mine. What I did was landed my heir and gave him... Sorry for the nude wife there. Gave him this land in Transoxiana because I did hear that fertility increases when they're landed. Plus, I took him off from being an acclaimed knight, so he you know, and then I forced him to not being. It's like, stay home, do your duty. So I can let him. Well, we'll see. I want them to continue building their family. So anyway, just one more thing, and should be right around the corner. Another succession, 960 AD. We're getting closer to 985. Khan Karate gave me a good play. We expanded the realm significantly, and but it shrank as planned. so that's fine. With Kimek going to my other son. So, my brother, where's he at? Got a lot of sisters. There he is. Okay. So the only problem here is I got desperate towards the end and named someone Seljuk because I really wanted it to. And now he's stuck up there in the north. So, and this guy just... I've got one son that I wasn't able to name Seljuk in time. His 41-year-old... And no concubines. Okay, that's the problem right there. So we're gonna load up on concubines here because I need more than just one kid. But anyway, we are pretty, aside from the historically completely inaccurate Seljuk living up there in the north, my brother, everything's actually looking pretty good. We have Transoxiana and Ogazil completely under our control. A little bit of, and most of actually. I don't think we have the title for this. For Seer Daria. So we're, as I keep saying, we're going to just bring this video to a conclusion in 985 with the conversion to Islam. And then begin our southward push, which will be all in the second video. So we're almost there. Just need 25 more years to survive for 25 more years, convert to Islam. And then we will have completed phase 1 of the Seljuk Empire origin story as precursors to the Sultanate of Rum, as precursors to the Ottoman Empire, which will take place here in the Anatolia area of modern-day Turkey. Quite an unexpected death just 6 years later of cancer. Yay. I have a decently put together succession, I think. Oh, no. Congratulations. We split by kingdom. Yay. That's awful. Anyway, I did have a son named Seljuk in Transoxiana. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'll just play as him. I don't even know if I can do that. But, anyway, that's a little depressing. I hate when things get going and it's like, you know, you're dead. I'll just start this little subjugation war. This guy, you know, I just want to preserve some of this land, and it's like, you're dead, cancer. Okay, cool. So we're still, what's that, 19 years away from 985. Barely made any progress. So we're going to keep going. 985, convert to Islam. And we made it. So it's 985 AD. So it is said that Seljuk, following his migration to Jand, which we do still have, there it is. It's in our rulership. It's in our, you know, our realm, not my domain. Following his migration to Jand in around 985 AD, that being a steppe warlord, he encountered for the first time Islam. Now, on the map, we really don't see Islam basically up that far north. Yet, I mean, here it is here, and I guess we've got that. Is that in my realm? Yeah. No. No. Yes. Okay. Just zoomed in a little bit too much there. Anyway, but we're going to do it anyway because the Seljuk Turks were a Turkish people who embraced Islam and eventually picked up an Iranian Persian background as well and became a fusion culture, which we're going to do that next video, of really the Arabic, Persian, Turkish cultures. But what we are going to do right away is embrace Islam. So let's do it. And we're going to choose this majority here. And convert over to our faith, to the faith. What do we have? 11 out of 16 vassals will convert, so that could cause me problems with a few of them, but whatever. I will crush them. So here we go. Alright. And, who's this? Alright, sure. Let's have him join. Alright, so we are Muslim, and that is the end. So thank you for watching. Here we are, our whole realm. We have kept the Oguz-Il kingdom, Transoxiana. That's a little bit historically ahead of time. Like I pointed out in the video, though, really starting from Seljuk's conversion to Islam, they became a lot more politically involved in these two areas here, Transoxiana and Khorasan, because I didn't really have a whole lot of time, or I won't have a whole lot of time to form the empire by 1037. I've made this justification a million times already. So anyway, that's really it. Thank you for watching the historical playthrough of the Turks. Again, I didn't start in Turkey because I really wanted to tell the origin story of the Seljuks, which will lead into the origin story of the Ottomans, which we will be playing, probably not the next video, maybe starting video 3, but definitely we will do a full-on Ottomans Empire origin story in Crusader Kings 3 and pass it to Europa Universalis 4. Who's stoked? I'm stoked. So anyway, I just want to say thanks to my one viewer, and we'll see you next time.